You already know. That line of the beat. A mí me gusta la mota, saca la bolsa. We're breaking up the bud and we smoking on some bomb ass weed. We smoking on some bomb ass.
Bring us in.
Yeah, bring us in, man. Bring it in, buddy. Bring it in, Volt Health.
All about the trio and what we have to say, yeah. Talking about weed all day, yeah. And our hair.
And perfectly placed. I mean, I'm kind of out that song. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but
Jimmy is
I got perfectly placed facial hair.
Oh my
Nice.
You know what? I see that Joe's got some perfectly placed facial hair today, man.
Yes, he does. Let's just give him a round of applause, both of y'all motherfuckers. That's right. That's right, y'all. Gotta love it. Episode 4 is in the building. You already know what it is. Appreciate everyone that's been subscribing, viewing, commenting, acting a fool in the comments. We love it.
Love it.
Please don't stop. You know what I'm saying? Don't be like the Florida GOP congressional lawmakers that are trying to decline to endorse marijuana legalization initiative despite the Trump support. You know what I'm saying?
For what?
Yes.
Yeah, it's freaking ridiculous. They're trying to make Florida suck again.
No.
They're gonna make Florida suck again.
Once we out their pharmaceutical agreements, handshakes, it's up. It's up.
Yeah,
It's
we
up.
gotta get this. We gotta get them the fuck out of here, man. You know what I'm saying? Like we need that new feeling, coastal state. You know what I'm saying? What better than Florida? You know?
It's happening. It's the place to be. It's the place to be.
Not to offend any other Floridian here, but you know, growing up, I used to get that feeling, being from New Jersey and New York, when I used to watch like movies that were like California based. I used to be like, man, California looks fucking cool. You know what I'm saying? Like people look like they're chilling on the beach and everything seems to be like free for the most part, right?
Yeah.
And when I first went out there and I went to Long Beach, I was like staring, I guess over the, you know, like I forgot what road I was on. I've got video and the stuff of that, but I could look down. I could see the what looks like the boardwalk, but it was pavement and stuff. And so what I'm saying is to say this is I've seen life. I've seen people jogging, riding bike, walking, playing frisbee. You know what I'm saying? Just laying on the grass. They're on the beach. It just seemed like it was just so vibrant. You know what I'm saying? I was like, this looks like a fucking great state to be in if you're a cannabis supporter. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, why can't Florida get that feeling? You know what I'm saying? Like it's dope enough to be that. It's a great state to vacation at. It's a great state to live in. It's a great state to be in. And you know, we need this state's legislation to reflect that as well. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so many other things to come against that can really help the people by being against it. This just isn't one of them, you know?
Not at
it's
all.
Just
not at all. And you know, we've got the problem, but you know, these are problems to be corrected and we're working on them and we will. We've got places, and nothing against people from South Florida, but we've got places like Palm Beach, and great people in Palm Beach, great people on both sides, right? But Palm Beach is pharmaceutical money, man. Big pharmaceutical money in Palm Beach County, Florida. Huge money, guys. Huge. You know, and make no mistake about it, I think the 3 largest wealth management banking entities in as American banking entities now manage more wealth out of Florida than out of New York.
Wow. That's
More
really saying
money
something.
out of Florida than New York. And so we've got a ways to go with regard to the pharmaceutical clamp on this state. on this peninsula. We've got a ways to go. Got a ways to go because our tax base is addicted to, in more ways than one, addicted to pharmaceutical money and pharmaceuticals. Got a ways to go.
I mean, like, how much are they paying in taxes?
A whole lot.
A whole lot,
like
bro.
a lot more than what they think marijuana would be paying, or
Well,
at least
you know,
currently.
I mean, okay, so that's a good question. I mean, I guess we'd have to really break it down like this. So, pharmaceuticals kind of rule the roost right now, right?
Yep.
Because we have a society that, since the Rockefeller days back in the day with the AMA, and then medical school being associated with the AMA, I mean, we just have decades and decades and decades of, the government being allowed to tell you what food is good for you and then what drugs will help you when they find out the food they told you was good for you isn't good for you, and now you have a condition. So because people are programmed, like I read somewhere, don't quote me on the exact number, but I think that it was by the time you're 55 years old, you're supposed to be, in those words, supposed to be on 5 medications a day, right? So now you're on a medication that controls diabetes. You might be on a medication that controls, heart disease. You're on a medication that controls pain. Oh my God, dude. You're on a medication that controls whatever. You know what I'm saying? But by the time then you're supposed to be. So why are we supposed to be, right? And going back to our conversation that we've all had, now collectively but independently, like when we talk about our plant, this is like a biopharmacy within its own self. There's something about this plant that assists almost every known condition that we can even talk about. So why is it that we aren't paying that kind of money in taxes? Well, the reason why is because we have decades and decades and decades of use that we've had to keep undercover, where pharmaceuticals have just been drugging people out in the open this entire time.
Yep.
Wow.
So naturally, people are going to go towards what they say works. Plus, people have been told, well, I mean, if it's by the FDA, I mean, it's a pharmaceutical company, if it's, whatever, they have this false credibility, right? Going right, I can quote right now, the COVID vaccination, right? They have the false credibility, right? That they test something, it's really great. The efficacy is wonderful on all 8 of the mice before they released it into the world.
Right.
And people just flocked. People flocked to get that shot, man. And for people that didn't flock, they were incented somehow.
Correct.
By the government, whether it was on the West Coast with Joints for Jobs, where the government was complicit in using federal money to pay for people to get joints, which are...
Or de Blasio with Shake Shack burgers and fries.
Dude. Right, bro. Don't even get me started on him, bro. De Blasio, he's the dude. Was it him or Bloomberg, dude? It was one of the two, man. It was one
in
of the,
New York.
No, seriously, it was either Bloomberg or De Blasio. One of them.
Seriously, if it wasn't so dangerous,
made
it
it
would be
illegal
funny,
to donate food to the homeless.
Yeah, that's Bloomberg was the one that did that something with it. Also with the sodas, like you couldn't get like the large or some crap shit. I don't know, it's whatever, bro.
That's
right, but it's your body, your choice, right?
Yeah.
It's your body and your choice.
Yep.
But you can't have a large Coke.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's your body and your choice.
Yep.
Well, it depends on.
But you can't go to work if you don't get a shot. But it's your body, your choice.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
You're saying.
Yeah.
You're saying this is the space for it.
Yeah.
You're saying this
For
is
real.
the space for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy the level of hypocrisy in our society and why is it accepted and why is it normalized and why is there no degree of resistance for that? Like, why are we just so compliant? You know what I'm saying? Like, it just baffles me, bro. It really does. It really does. I mean, I get
that's a lesson in Western society. That's a lesson in media, right? A lot of people don't remember, but in 1997, the ban was lifted on the advertisement on television and radio, direct consumer advertisement for pharmaceutical drugs, and they also at the same time brought back spirits. So before that, for whatever reason, it was only beer could be advertised, but not liquors. And it was strange that liquor was brought back in at the same time as pharmaceuticals were allowed to be directly advertised to the American consumer. So today, only the United States taxpayer, I used to call us citizens, but now I refer to us as taxpayer, only the United States taxpayer and the citizens of New Zealand are subjected to direct advertisement by pharmaceuticals. So you look back at all these administrations and how hard they all pushed to get this universal health care bill passed in some way, shape, or form, in some version. And then they needed it when Obama got it passed, or that administration, during that regime, that administration, they shoved it through, right? But they still needed a Super Bowl, right? They still needed a Super Bowl to really bring this home. That was 2019. And so today you see literally college football games, NFL football games, the advertisement income, okay, the budgets, the income for an NFL presentation on us average any given Sunday, okay,
Right.
70% of ad sales are to the pharmaceutical industry.
That surprises me not at all.
70%. So that Super Bowl that happened in 2019, that event kicked the doors open. And so some people say that event, the C-19 event, could not have happened without a universal health care bill, and the universal health care bill could not happen without the anticipation of that massive event coming through to kick the doors open, because they worked in lockstep, in synchronicity.
I like to say often that success begins with the end in mind, right?
Of course.
And I apply that with my employees. I talk to my friends about it. When I'm doing consulting, I talk about it. Like, you have to know what you consider the end success to be. And once you determine what success looks like, you then build the plan to get there. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it happens in a day or a week or a month. So to your point, Joey, what you were just saying is, like, what was the success in mind that they were thinking? What was the end in mind that they were thinking, right? And then the game plan that they built. And when you talk about the universal healthcare bill, same. And it's very difficult. That is a polarizing subject, because those who know. But I mean, when they passed it passed in the middle of the night. There were 2,700 pages. The legislators were given to it that day, and they were told to read it and just pass it. Just pass it. We'll find out what's in it later. And they did. And 70%. So just saying, it just makes you wonder if success begins with the end in mind, and successful people follow that bit of advice, then what does the successful end look like to the people that are pushing the chemicals today?
Yep.
Just curious.
Correct.
Yep, great point. So there's also a study find where it says marijuana use does not impact working memory and other brain processes. American Medical Association study finds. Something that a lot of people have been saying for quite some time, and I'm glad that at least now the studies are starting to be, I should say, done out in the open. But I mean, we've all done the studies for all those that have used it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's either, you know, some people may not, like we don't remember everything. So, but they're like, oh, if you smoke pot, it was affected by that. I don't think so. You know what I'm saying? I mean, some people just naturally just don't have great memory. They don't have those skills in place to exercise their memory, which is an exercise that you can all use and improve on. But for the most part, you know, all we see is countless studies that show benefits, and then we have to, you know, throw in these lawmakers that still decline to endorse it. It just really, it boggles me. You know, I want to know what the rhyme and the reason is. Like, if you don't endorse it, at least be able to articulately express why. And
Correct.
don't regurgitate the crap that we already debunked. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if you're gonna do that, then you better start bringing back some stuff that you already have out there. Like, okay, we're not going to endorse marijuana, but guess what? We're going to start not endorsing alcohol use. We're going to start not endorsing tobacco use. I mean, let everybody hurt, right?
Yep.
But
Yep.
since they're not going to do that, that's the stuff that just pisses me off, and I know that it upsets so many other people that support the plan. It's not even about, like we've said time and time again, it's not just about those that want to smoke it to get high, like myself. You know what I'm saying? It's just those that understand that what doesn't hurt you makes you stronger. So then why are you denying people the ability to get stronger?
That's right. You got.
Everything that the answer to what you just said is within everything you just said. For real. Why do you want to deny the people the ability to get stronger?
Yeah.
Why is that? You know what
Right,
I'm
because
saying?
you don't want people to get stronger to, I guess, to rise above, right? But don't worry, we won't. We'll be just so fucking nice, feeling so much mellow. We won't want to. Just chill the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? And just be fair. Like, they can, the powers that be can still win, even if they allow us to win. You know what I'm saying? It just keep things fair, and you'll still be okay. There's just no reason for oppression of the people. This isn't those times. You know what I'm saying? Like, for the most part, people just want to live a simple life, earn a good living. You know what I'm saying? Be able to trust that their kids are safe, right? You know what I mean? And pretty much all will be fair if that's let to be. But they just continue. The only people that think it's fair are those that already have that same belief. Like, yeah, we hate cannabis, so you know what? We want it to be illegal as long as we can smoke cigarettes and drink alcohol. And it's like, yo, you're killing yourself, just so you know.
But you know what?
Seriously.
But as Americans, I'll tell people, from foreign, other foreign thought. Let's call it foreign thought.
Okay.
Outside of America, and I'll just say, for the most part, we get a bad rap because Americans just want to be left the F alone. For the most part,
right.
Americans want to be left alone, and
right.
so they know these people that we're talking about. They know how to poke the bear, and that's exactly what they're doing because they know that that's the sacredity of being American. When people say, "Oh, but you don't want to embrace this," no, I don't give. We, for the most part, we don't give a rat's ass. We really don't. I know as long as you're not. Look, you stay away from children, man. Okay, and whatever the hell you do, all right, and mind your own business. Stay away from people's children. Stay away from children. Period. In every sense of that delivery.
That's the real Constitution right there, right?
That's right, my man. That's right. So, F around and find out, because I think that that they keep pushing this envelope. But for the most part, people smoke cigarettes. Man, I love the smells. I'm sorry, man. I've never been a smoker. I'll be the first one to say, makes me feel cozy. All right, I don't mind the smell of cigarettes. I kind of like it. It reminds me of being young and when it was ubiquitous. It reminds me of my uncle. So I don't mind, Don't trap me, in a room with it or anything like that. But
yeah, I can't be around that shit.
I just don't care. I really don't care. And people have their reasons. I know that they've got their vices and stuff like that. Those vices are their masters. But as far as cannabis, anybody that's talking against cannabis, I'll just say, be cheap about it. Give yourself 1 week. Smoke a little bud before you go to sleep. We know it's not. Everybody should know that it does. It's got. What is it, Jimmy? It's smoking as far as neuroinflammation, right? You wake up, you're gonna feel good, and I'll say, give yourself 1 week. And then watch your thought process the next day. Watch your memory. Watch all this because you had a damn good night's sleep. And if nothing else, try it for that. I think it's worth a try rather than picking up a white pill. Definitely worth a try.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are worth trying other than picking up a white pill, man. And it doesn't have to be. It could be meditation. It could be yoga. It could just be going to the gym every day. You know, I've been going to the gym every day and rebuilding after a medical issue that I had. And I say that on days when I get up and I don't want to go to the gym, you know what I do?
So
Go
I
anywhere.
get up and go to the gym.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you just sit up, put your shoes on, throw on some shorts, shirt, put your hat on, dude, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't really matter. Because once you do something to improve your health, like, it becomes a habit, and then you start to really see the benefit, right?
Right, yeah.
And so, and as it relates to cannabis, same thing. We have an endocannabinoid system with CB1 and 2 receptors embedded in almost every cell in our body
Yep.
that picks up on this. And just to talk a little bit about, like, say, CBD, for example. So why CBD is so profound, honestly, is because CBD itself has the right combination to help us with inflammation, improving our immune system. There's a lot of things CBD does. But on top of what CBD does as itself, it helps our body to produce a chemical that's called anandamide. And anandamide is what is known as an endocannabinoid, right? So we have endocannabinoids and we have phytocannabinoids. Endocannabinoid is a cannabinoid produced by our body. A phytocannabinoid comes from the actual plant itself. But people, we generally, as people, just don't produce a lot of anandamide to begin with, right? So when we're taking CBD, it helps our body like, oh yeah, hey, I'm going to produce some anandamide. And the only time your body produces anandamide in abundance is when you're a female in the 3rd trimester of pregnancy. Then your body overproduces anandamide for the specific purposes of neuroprotection, neurodevelopment, and the immune system of your baby in utero. And if it's not relevant, then why is it secreted through breast milk for 2 months after the baby is born? Right? So,
God's not messing around.
but that's the only time a human body will overproduce it. If there's another time, I haven't been made aware, and I've done extensive studies on this. So, but when you take CBD, it helps the body to produce the anandamide. So you're not just you're getting like a jump start in what your body is meant to do anyway, right? Coming from the plant. It goes back to this plant is like a biopharmacy. I love that word, man. I'm just going to say that word for like the next week.
That's the word of the day.
Yeah, it is the word of the day.
So phytocannabinoids are like catalysts then, correct, Jimmy? They trigger something?
They do trigger something. They trigger a lot of things, actually. And so, and each cannabinoid is unique in what it is that it does, right? So THC, really great for pain relief. CBD, great for inflammation, pain relief, anti-spasmodic, anti-seizure. That's why there's a medication that came out in 2017, finally in 2017, called Epidiolex. And that was the first known phytocannabinoid medication on the market to treat children that have seizures, right? So if there wasn't a benefit to cannabis, and if there's nothing medicinal about cannabis, then why did the FDA approve a phytocannabinoid medication for the treatment of seizures?
Right, exactly.
I mean,
Interesting.
we don't want to ask that question.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the profoundness of what I'm talking about is the homeostasis, right? So homeostasis is like the balance of how our body produces chemicals and helps to keep us well balanced. And so if you think of homeostasis being kind of like a baby mobile, right? So you see the baby's in the crib, looking up, and there's like this little mobile tree, right? There's like some, little animals on it, whatever, and it's all balanced, and it like spins around in different directions and plays music and hypnotizes your child into going to sleep. Sometimes you just need that, right? And so but if you were to go up to that mobile and you were to take one of those animals on one of the arms and you were to pull on it, everything else goes out of whack, right?
Yeah.
So when you don't have a balanced chemical system in the body, it's kind of like what a mobile looks like, right? So, but if you let go of that animal, and the mobile will rebalance itself back out. That is how I want you to think of homeostasis in the human body. So the cannabinoids actually help to bring balance to that. People that we already produce a little to no anandamide, but people that don't produce any anandamide are people that have the highest instances of schizophrenia, bipolar, depression, mania, and other psychological conditions. So, and there's a direct link to that that you can go to National Institute of Health.gov, where they did a clinical study on it, right? So on a .gov website, information is available, but yet it's not available in a government pamphlet that's at your doctor's office.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That makes so much sense too, because considering the my condition, or what was diagnosed to me years ago, which I rebuke today, is why whenever I would smoke, it would just like re-stabilize my mood, and I was good to go. You know what I'm saying? Outside of that, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't say that I was just going through withdrawal. It was just more like I was just back and having to deal with everything on a sober mind, which is not bad either. I'm not trying to say anything negative towards that,
No.
but it just made it a lot easier for me to deal with certain things when I was medicated. Where for one, like for instance, some people, they'll go through stuff in life, they can kind of shrug it off, laugh about it. You know, they can get pissed off, but it won't be too major. Where me, it'll be like the same situation, and here I am busting a hole in my wall. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like one of my friends will be like, "Damn, dog, relax, bro. It ain't that serious." And I'm like, "No, I know. It just really pisses me off, and this, that, and third." But then if I smoked a little, same situation, I can get pissed off. Definitely don't want to put a hole in my wall. You know what I'm saying? And I don't have to fight that anger. So same thing. You know what I mean? So it makes a lot of sense with what you just explained. So that's why, again, this plant is, and it's the word of the day. Biopharmacy. So many different uses. Yep.
There's so many different uses, man, and not just the cannabinoids, but we've talked a little bit in past episodes about the terpenes, what they do, the flavonoids, which is like a secondary metabolite, but also being studied very heavily right now. It's not just the cannabinoids. It's everything that the plant has to offer. Our ancestors have used this plant for thousands of years to produce results medically. Yeah. And we're still using it today.
Yep.
And why was it that it was illegal for as long as it was? Well, it wasn't illegal for as long as it was because it gets you high.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It was illegal for the purposes of banning hemp.
That's exactly.
Which within itself was threatening the petroleum and the paper industries back in the day. And big political donors lobbied to get that illegal, and unfortunately marijuana was a casualty of that war.
Yep.
And nobody asked questions. For like 70 years, 60 years.
Right.
And now here we are today, just barely learning about what this plant can do, when 3,000 years ago it was a staple in the Pharaoh's medicine cabinet.
I remember it was a few years back. I think it was probably 2018, 2019, the height of consumer CBD products, 2018, 2019. And some damn Associated Press wannabe journalist bought off, tried to come out with some article about how CBD was taxing the liver. And so you had to be cognizant about your intake of CBD because it could be hard on your liver. I was like, what the are you talking about? These freaking Tylenol, Advil for pain, and Tylenol and aspirin. What the hell do you think this stuff is doing to the liver?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So talk about threatening their bank account. CBD all of a sudden as a consumer product to suburban women across America, they may have been threatening the aspirin or Bayer and Advil and Motrin markets. So, you know how they do. So that article came out, and I thought, "Geez, are you freaking kidding me?" And so
I'm like, so what are the mothers supposed to give their kids that are having seizures? More Tylenol?
More Tylenol.
Come
Tylenol.
on, bro.
Yeah, isn't it something?
It doesn't stop with okay. So I got to throw this out there, man. So it doesn't stop with just human consumption, right? All mammals have an endocannabinoid system. If you have warm blood, right, and a heartbeat, you have an endocannabinoid system. So I will say this. So CBD for your mammal pets, right? You know, your ferret, your dog, your cat, your mouse, whatever. If you have a lizard, man, you got an iguana chilling, dude, like CBD is not going to do anything to him. But for an animal, man, who suffer from the same conditions that we do, seizures, cancer, absolutely don't. Oh, I've got
I give
all day
CBD
long.
to my dogs too.
Yep.
I have. I will send you guys a article in High Times magazine where they picked up a story from a local ABC affiliate because I had made CBD for a dog that couldn't use his back legs. I'm not going to say anything else about it. I'm just going to send you the link, and then you guys can watch the video. And the whole point of that is seizures. So I have this cat, Mr. Prin Chicken. And when Mr. Prin Chicken was a kitten, like I had this little stick that had these little dangly, sparkly things on it, and I was like bouncing it because that's what you do. And the cat's like attacking it, but the sparkle kept hitting his little brain. And then all of a sudden he just fell out and started seizing and tripping. And I was like, oh my goodness gracious, dude. So I went to my cabinet, got some CBD oil that I take for me, put it in his little seizing mouth, and then took him to the little cat hospital where he arrived. He was totally cool, and they couldn't tell even that he even had a seizure.
Wow.
So I know that Mr. Prin Chicken will not be able to come to give us his testimony, and it could be questionable if I'm even telling the truth about this, but I assure you that I am. And so the profoundness of the CBD, when you talk about aspirin, what's a mother going to give their kid? An aspirin for seizures, whatever?
Right.
No. It's not just for people. That reminded me of Mr. Prin Chicken, dude, and how he was suffering, and it was like the saddest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the second saddest thing. I guess the first saddest thing that I've seen in my life was I was in Denver and I was coming home on a side road because you don't take the road most traveled there because it was down for construction and whatever. And I saw this like family of ducks like walking across the street. Oh, dude.
Oh man, they got ran.
Crushed, dude, and all the little baby ducklings were like trying to flock to their mom who was like laying there, and then everybody didn't give a shit. That was the saddest animal story I have. But the second saddest animal story I have is when Mr. Prin Chicken fell out, bro. And I had to be there for him, dude. And the CBD pulled him out, dude, to the point where the veterinarian could not even tell he even had a seizure. And he's not had a seizure since. And I also don't play with a little sparkly stick anymore either. But
You just took me there, and I don't have any medicine to bring me out of the place that you just put me in.
Man.
I'm sorry, dude. But you know what? Here's the thing, dude. Now we feel my pain together, Doc.
That's true.
That's what's special about this.
That's true.
That's what's special about this.
It's true.
Like now, I actually feel a lot better, dude. You know what I'm saying? I've been waiting to get that story off my chest since 2009, bro. So it's been 13, 14 years or so.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you being there for me, bro.
Yeah, man. No, appreciate you bringing me where I didn't want to go, but I'm glad that I'm here and can now take that burden from you, and I hopefully can find someone that will relieve me of my burden of this story. You know, it's funny because when we talk about CBD, it always brings me back to the interview that Nate Diaz had after UFC 202, and how he was literally puffing on a vape, CBD vape, during the post-fight interview, and
I'm sure.
And he had said it, you know, yeah, it's CBD, you know what I'm saying, it helps me recover faster.
Yeah.
And I remember that when he said that, I said, oh man, he about to catch some shit behind this. But I was, no, because you're thinking, okay, oh, what? Wait, hold on, that's CBD, that's still marijuana. We got a you know drug test or whatever they may, you know. I'm just saying where they could have tried to go with it, but in my mind I was like, yo, you just also embarked on something that a lot of people didn't know. You know what I'm saying? So you know, you're thinking, okay, Charlotte's Web, great for seizures, this, that, and a third. And here's an athlete who's not going through that. He's saying, hey, I do this because I've found that I get to recover from such an ass whooping that I give and get.
Yeah.
And I'm able to perform at a high level faster. And I was like, wow, that's another miracle.
To just unpack that,
right.
we have to understand what the CBD is doing to an athlete. First of all, that is in like murder mode, right?
Yeah,
Very, very focused, very high intense, like workout training going on. He's out there, the fight is on. Obviously, he's going to be in a lot of pain. He's going to have inflammation. He's going to have his mind is probably next level, like
Fight or flight.
focused. So focused, like you need something that's going to pull you out of that zone. And so, and maybe sometimes yoga, meditation, and a cold plunge might not necessarily do that quite immediately, man. But I tell you what, CBD would address every single one of those things that I just mentioned. THC, not so much. Then you just get high, but you can still be pissed. So, but CBD, on the other hand, that is a calming effect. So it's going to pull you down out of that mode that you were just in. It is going to work on the inflammation, which is going to work on the pain. 90% of pain comes from inflammation. So CBD has 20 times the anti-inflammatory power of ibuprofen or acetaminophen. So if you can address 90% of the pain through the reduction of inflammation, then the other 10% is the cold plunge, man.
Yep.
Nothing bad for the liver, nothing bad for the head, nothing bad for the blood, nothing bad for your organs. Unlike the white pills, as Joey calls them, which absolutely can. If we break it down, let's talk about white pills for a second. So today, if you get into a car accident, have chronic pain or some sort of acute pain where you actually have to get a prescription for white pills, let's take, we can take a number of them, but we're going to take hydrocodone just as an example. So when we talk about the epidemic, the opioid epidemic and how people are getting addicted, there was a point in time where people were literally dying from overdosing, right? But the overdose wasn't necessarily from the opioid. The opioid definitely suppresses the cardio and the respiratory system, no doubt. I'm not trying to take it away from that.
Right.
But our livers are when we take acetaminophen or ibuprofen, it becomes toxic in our liver at 3,000 milligrams. So back in the day, if you were to get a prescription for a 5 milligram hydrocodone, right? It would have 5 milligrams of the active opioid, but then it would have 500 milligrams of acetaminophen, right? So as people become more addicted and they want that little 5 milligram hit here and there, they have to take that at the expense of 500 milligrams of acetaminophen. But if the liver becomes toxic at 3,000 milligrams, and now you have people that are taking 5 milligrams a day, 50 milligrams really isn't that much. Like, you're probably not going to overdose if you take 50 milligrams. But on the flip side, you are getting 5,000 milligrams of acetaminophen. Wow. So that means that on a daily basis, your liver is becoming more toxic, and people were dying of liver failure and liver disease long before they were dying of opioid overdose. Now, that's not to say that people didn't go to their doctor and get bumped up to 7.5 milligrams, where they had, 7.5 milligrams of hydrocodone and 750 milligrams, right, of acetaminophen. Now, if you're taking 10 of those a day, you're still not going to die from the 7.5, right? Especially if
that was the formulation, Jimmy. It was 100x.
Yes. And so now today, like if you go out and try to get a prescription, now they've limited the acetaminophen content to 325, no matter how many milligrams. If you get a 5, a 7.5, or a 10 milligram hydrocodone, no matter what, you're only getting 325 milligrams of acetaminophen, right? So that means that if you're taking 10 a day, you're at 3,200, whereas before you could have been as high as 7,500. And that's just for people that are taking 10. There were people that were taking 15 to 20 a day because they were addicted to get that little hit of that opioid, and their livers just shut off.
Yeah.
And so the epidemic wasn't just for the opioid. The opioid works great for pain relief, right?
Right.
And addiction and overdose. Yeah. And it works great for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Things that marijuana have never been associated with.
Correct.
But the acetaminophen content on the back end, that's what was really killing people. And so when they brought the acetaminophen content down, well, now people aren't suffering with their liver and their kidneys as much. So now they are able to take more, and now we're overdosing. Here comes OxyContin. Here comes oxycodone, the Roxys, which, are a stronger opioid with less acetaminophen, that's where the transition happened.
Wow.
That's what got people really messed up, dude. So we can go back to how this actually happened in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because, damn, right?
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's just another level of hypocrisy that we all have to deal with in today's society.
That's right.
Fact.
Unbelievable. Just on the progression side of things. NBA, to me, has been behind on a lot of things, but they last year they kind of moved the chess piece forward, right? And they said, okay, you know what? We're not going to test for cannabis anymore in the NBA. There was a lot of players. I'll say this: there were a lot of key players. When I mean key players, too big to fail players, right?
Got you. Yeah.
But nonetheless, at least they spoke up and they admitted, hey, look, everyone more than are using cannabis. You know what I'm saying? Like it's somehow or another. They said, okay, you know what? We're going to do away with the testing of it. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully nobody gets hurt, and then says, it was based on that. But I say all that to say this. You have professional athletes in one of the biggest areas, second to, I would say, MMA, in sports genres, right? That have banded together and changed something, right? And it has actually benefited. You still have the NFL that's, whatever in the Stone Age on so many different levels. And I'm sure I don't know how it is in hockey, but, there's still a lot of other areas, maybe, for the best or for the worst or whatever. But the point is, there are different pockets of our society that has shown that it wins and can continue to win. And more knowledge of the benefits should at some point start to outweigh the rejections, like, the risk versus the reward.
Yeah.
And I am so eager for that day to come. I know I know a lot of people thought, okay, once Colorado and California came, this was gonna almost be like an overnight fucking thing. And somehow it feels like we've kind of plateaued a bit, and then we kind of start to make, it's kind of like the stock market, you're like, oh shit, today this stock is running, it's running, and then all of a sudden it starts to, it pulls back a bit, and then it runs a bit, then something significant happens, and it pulls back drastically, and it takes a while for it to get back to even half of the levels that it used to be. I feel like this is where we're at with the cannabis movement. I agree. And so I'm just really hoping, like I said before when I started this all off with the with Florida and the legislation and stuff like that, I'm really hoping that somehow, some way, because it is projected for it to go through. It's just, what's it going through going to look like? Just like how you said, they brought up 2,700 pages, and you got to pass it in order to know. I feel like this is the setup that's about to happen in Florida. There's going to be some shit like that.
Well, then the legislators need to say, no, we're going to read it. And then what they should do, if they're doing things the right way, what I would do, because as a legislator, there's absolutely no way that everybody in your district is just going to be like,
no.
You know what I'm saying? For everything that you're for, right?
Yeah.
Because what you should be for as a legislator is you should be for your people in your district or your state, depending on if you're a state or you're a U.S. senator or House rep. And so I would say it would be highly beneficial for them to have open meetings, whether it's on Facebook Live or maybe a town hall. Forget the town hall, maybe teletown hall, just a way that people can come in and you can really listen and do polling for not the whole state, but specifically people in your district, right? Because you have to hear what the majority of the people are saying, because you can't represent all people's voices, because politics are so polarizing that there are people that will hate you just because you're a Democrat or just because you're a Republican, and they will vote blue no matter who and whatever their little sayings are, you know what I'm saying? And they'll come out and they'll they will try to subvert every single thing that you do. But we have to just brush those people off for a minute. They're just natural born haters. So you have to listen to the majority of the district, which is going to have like the common sense voice. And these legislators, whether they're senators or House reps, they need to listen to the people in their district and then take a poll and see. Is it 60-40? Is it 70-30? Is it 50-50? Is it 51-49? Because the majority of the people in your districts should be the voices that you truly represent, because that is how the majority feel. And I think that if they actually take time to listen to what people have to say, they're not going to vote their conscience. They're going to vote what their people want. Like, they're elected to represent the people, not represent the companies and the special interests. And I think that that's where people like us, that's where we have to hold the people in Congress accountable. Like, you're going out there and saying all this great stuff about everything that's great to you, but you're not saying anything that's great to me. And you're not saying anything that's great to anybody that lives in my neighborhood or the city or anything else, because you're getting money from a special interest that controls the words that come out of your fucking mouth. And you need to like listen to people. That should be what controls the decision. And I think that we talk a lot about the legislators and the laws that are passing, but we allow them the power. We let them borrow our power to make those decisions. And I think that we need to push the legislators and the Congress and the senators. I mean, seriously, we need to push them to have meetings like that to listen to the people. And I think that if they're getting pharmaceutical money, that pharmaceutical money should be on the phone with them.
Without
right?
On their jumpsuit.
Because they need to hear it too. Because you know what? Overall, at the end of the day, I can tell you where all of this is going to go. All of this is eventually going to go straight to the FDA. It's going to go straight to high-level, big-money pharmaceutical companies that are going to try to get into marijuana and subvert the little people.
Yeah.
And they're going to and they're going to find a way to. But if we start now, that won't happen, because it is a plant, man. Like, it's a plant. It's a plant that everybody should be able to grow. And to Joey's point earlier, you know, when he's talking about Americans, when he's talking about like the foreign thought process, and people are just like, what's up? Dude, we just want to be left alone. I want to say whatever I want to say, whenever I want to say it. I want to own a firearm. I still want to say whatever I have to say. And I want the right to not have to say anything at all.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I want the right to own land. I want the right to do whatever I want to do on that land, providing that it doesn't have anything to do with something stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like child crimes, sex trafficking. Obviously, those are common sense laws, man.
Yeah, or creating a nuclear bomb, something like that.
Whatever we want. We have to have some laws that restrict people from being able to do heinous shit to other human beings.
Right.
But at the same time, like, leave us the fuck alone, dude. If I want to grow 12 plants on my property, dude, and grow my own medicine, and I want to grow my own food, which, by the way, is growing our own medicine, just saying.
Yep.
Like non-GMO, just growing it out in the yard, man. And Joey, with his ancestral knowledge and, you know, his background, will be able to tell us about all sorts of different types of medicines that were made from food.
Absolutely.
And cannabis.
Yep.
Not just cannabis, though, because, you know, the real medicine it starts with what we consume.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Before you went out and got a packet of Emergency at 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, you could have like some cherries, dude.
Absolutely.
Maybe some oranges.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Maybe a couple fucking apples keeping the doctor away, like, peace, bitch. You know what I'm saying?
I've brought that up many times. Why do you think that saying was a saying? The
Sure,
apple day keeps the doctor away. It was because they were allergic to apples. Because they kept you healthy. You know what I'm saying?
And then we have to ask, how did you become allergic to apples? You know?
Yeah.
You made GMO-ass apples.
Yeah, there you go.
Your apples have seeds.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know, yeah, make sure your watermelons have seeds, too.
Yeah.
Make sure your organic watermelons have seeds, people,
Yes.
just so you know.
Yes. There's no harm to seeds, people. No.
Yeah. Watermelons don't look like bowling balls, just so you know.
Exactly.
New generation.
Jeez. Unbelievable.
And the best ones are undisturbed, man. Look for the yellow spot.
Yep. That's right.
Nice. I see where you're at.
That's right.
Yeah, nice.
Yep.
Very good. Wow.
Undisturbed.
Let's see what else we got here, because there's a lot of articles that I can get into. You know, it's that's another thing. I wonder when the MLB will get on the same page as well. You know what I'm saying? That would be great for those players because I mean that's a lot of fucking games in one season. Like NBA, that's like what was that? Like 180 fucking games in a season. Like, dude, mellow out. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to fucking do something. Here's one thing that's really good. Here's one thing that's let's bring up Colorado since we brought them up before. So it says here, Colorado's marijuana legalization law is an example of American democracy, senators say, right? But, or I should say senator says, but he wishes state would have done things differently with THC cap. So it says it's no secret that Senator John Hickenlooper, I'm sorry if I'm killing it. I never heard it said before, and I'm glad.
He used to be the mayor of Denver, by the way.
Got you. He was opposed to Colorado's historic marijuana legalization ballot initiative over a decade ago when he was the state's governor. But while he's since become a vocal supporter of the reform, he said in a new interview that there are some things I wish we'd done differently, including putting THC caps in the ballot measure, as opposed to adding them years later. Speaking with Evoke Media, Sabrina Mirage Naeem on the A Fine Mess podcast, Hickenlooper and the state's first top cannabis regulator, Andrew Friedman, reflected on Colorado's experience with marijuana legislation. Both conceded that they were initially skeptical of the reform, but they've since come to appreciate Colorado's leadership on the issue. Quote, to be honest, in the beginning, I didn't like Colorado being a test tube where this was going to be one of the great social experiments of the 21st century, and we didn't have the data, end quote, the senator said. Concerns about the potential expanded access to high THC products for youth informed Hickenlooper's opposition at the time. But once voters approved the legalization, he said he knew he needed, quote, to do the best I can to follow their will, end quote. But while the now senator has repeatedly acknowledged in the years since that his worst fears about legalization did not come to fruition, citing data showing that youth cannabis rates have not increased in the state in a sign of the efficacy of regulating the marketplace, for example, he did say he would have taken a slightly different approach to certain rules. Quote, there's some things I wish I would have done differently. I do. In retrospect, wish we'd put caps on the amount of THC you could get in a gummy bear or something, end quote, he said. Quote, I think we'll eventually get there. There are a few things we did wrong, end quote. Now it says, while the constitutional amendment legalizing cannabis did not set specific THC caps for edibles, regulators did later adopt rules that established a 10 milligram limit, which we've discussed here on this program, for edibles with a maximum 100 milligram allowance per package, which we also discussed on this program. Despite certain regrets, Hickenlooper credited Friedman, Colorado's former chief cannabis regulator, who later became the executive director of the Coalition for Cannabis Policy, Education, and Regulation, the CPEAR, for doing a remarkable job in creating what has turned out to be a national model for how to regulate legalizing marijuana.
And do you know where that comes from?
You about to drop the bomb on us.
I just want to know. Do you know where that comes from?
Where does that come from, sir?
Okay. So we know that there's no overdose deaths as it relates to marijuana, right?
Correct.
Like we are all like in solid agreement of that, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
There's actually a condition that is called cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, right? CHS. And this is what happens when you do ingest too much THC, all right? So there are people, and it produces like short-term psychosis. But the psychosis it produces can last a week or 2 weeks. You're just locked in a state of psychosis. You're constantly vomiting. Your absolute misery requires absolute hospitalization. And so where they say he wishes that there was some sort of regulation on like how much to have, it is because right now, I mean, it's not out of it's kind of out of the ordinary, I guess. I can't say it that way, but you can find, say, a Delta 8 gummy that's 200 milligrams in the gummy. 200 milligrams of THC is going to cause you to hate marijuana. It's going to cause you to be locked in a state of absolute paranoia and panic for 2 to 3 days.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so there is taking too much, right? And for
Right.
somebody who talks themselves into believing that they have a high tolerance, which they don't have that high of a tolerance.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure
Even
people out there
Snoop.
that try it,
Even
but
Snoop will
they
be
just
fucked
wanna
up,
be
right?
high all day, every day anyway, so to them it's all good. But to the average human being, when you come across something and your friend is like, dang dude, this stuff is strong, bro, here, eat this, and
Yeah.
then you're like, you're my friend, you would never fuck me over, and
Right.
so you eat it, and then next thing you know, dude, you're like in your bedroom thinking that you're getting ready to die, you're having a horrible panic attack. Yeah, I remember my first like brownie. This was in 2008, right?
Yeah.
Someone gave me like a 500 milligram brownie.
Damn,
That's what he was talking about, right?
He said, "I want to
And
see
so-
if somebody can die from this shit. Let me give this brownie to Jimmy."
Well, you know what?
Archbishop.
It's like, you're not going to die, but you're going to feel like you're going to die, and you're going to be
Yeah.
temporarily like crazy as fuck for a minute because
Yeah.
your perception of reality will be so distorted. But anyway, my first like 100 or 500 milligram gummy. So I was told, okay, so eat like a quarter of this, but don't eat any more than a quarter,
Right.
right? And this is like 5 o'clock
Yeah.
on a Friday. So I ate a quarter of the brownie, and then a few hours later, I was like, "Man, I don't feel anything, dude." So I ate like another quarter. So now I've like eaten half. Now I've just ingested 250 milligrams of THC. Like, didn't even. I was just like,
Yeah.
I'm not feeling it. So I went ahead
You
and
hit
ate
a
the other half.
lifetime.
You know what
You
I'm
hit a
saying? I
lifetime
went ahead
max.
and ate the other half around 8, 9 o'clock, and then it was around midnight. And my friend the Burrow and I, dude, were kicking it in his living room, and we were playing Nintendo Wii, and we were like bowling, dude. And I just remember taking a step back. And I was like,
You went into the video game. You was like, "Oh shit!"
what was the video
In this
game, bro? And I was just like, what just happened, dude? And I was so happy this was on a Friday because for the rest of that night,
wow.
thought I was going to die. Saturday, thought I was going to die. Sunday, yep, still thinking I'm pretty much going to fucking die. And then
Damn.
Monday morning, I woke up still high, but not quite as high, but I was
Right.
there. And I had to go to work. And by the way, I was like, I had a position very high up and was responsible for the behaviors of thousands of people. And I went to work and I was like, I fucked up, dude. Like, I made a huge error. I was looking at spreadsheets that were laughing at me, dude. Like,
Upside
not
down and
literally.
shit.
It might as well have been.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I was like, dude, it was bad. It was really, really bad. And I would never. And so anyway, the whole point is that so when we hear people saying, yeah, the law passed, people spoke, we got their back, this is what the people want.
Yeah.
But if we could look back, you know, maybe that 500 milligram brownie was probably not really good for retail
The
sales.
moral of the
Right.
story,
You know what I'm
Jimmy,
saying? Like,
the moral
Just eat
is,
the
what?
ear. Just eat the ear.
or the moral. Yeah.
I'm just saying, dude, it's real, bro. Cannabinoid hyperreleases syndrome is a real thing, dude. It is. First, you motherfuckers laughing at me, dude.
No,
Okay, first of all, it
yeah.
is not funny,
Well,
dude.
funny, Jay,
Hey,
Yeah.
give me the 500 milligram. You can have fun with me all fucking weekend. I care. I don't
No,
care.
there's a moral. There's a
Yeah,
moral.
you're gonna care.
Jimmy, there's a
Come
moral.
Sunday, you're gonna care.
There's a moral to this
Yeah.
story, Jimmy. And
Yeah, there is a more. There's a more.
there is
The moral to the story is that if we look back and we do talk about legislation and maybe putting a cap on some stuff,
Yeah.
like it's probably not a good idea to let somebody have a 500 milligram brownie, man.
Nah,
I think that they should be capped at 25 or 50 milligrams max.
Yeah.
I think that at a 50 milligram, like, I mean, that's all you need, bro.
Yeah.
Because what happens is when you eat, right, so it processes differently. So if you were smoking a joint that had 50 milligrams in it, right,
Yeah.
it's going to hit you differently than if you eat a 50 milligram gummy because when it goes through your liver, it actually identifies and adapts with different enzymes in your liver,
Yeah.
and that delta 9 will become delta 11
Correct.
pretty fucking fast.
That's right.
You know,
Damn.
delta 10,
Yep.
like it's gonna hit you a lot harder when it goes through your liver and kidneys
versus the bypass method, right, Jimmy?
Bruh,
yeah,
bruh, they
when you're
need.
taking it to the head and it just gets in your blood and whatever, it's already there. But when it starts mixing with
Yeah.
enzymes,
There needs to be a
and,
fucking QR code linked to a video that describes this shit on every package, man. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Oh my
Well, that's
goodness.
what-
Yeah,
you know,
dude.
it's about an educated consumer. It really is.
Yeah,
It's about
man.
an
Common,
really is.
yeah, man. Common
It really
sense
is.
fucking packaging, bro.
You know,
That should be a
yeah.
new fucking thing. Common sense packaging. How about that?
Freddie, you know they
Put that
can't.
shit on a t-shirt,
You
dude.
can't use the term common sense anymore. It's now human sense because
There you
common
go.
Common connotes
common.
a specific majority of voter. So you can't say common sense. You got to say human sense.
Hey man, fucking human sense packaging is what we need. For crying out loud, we need smart. Or call it smart packaging. You know what I'm saying? Since everything is all linked to smartphones and shit, smart packaging. Here's a link. It'll show you how to use the product correctly. You got a how-to video in there. Also a warning on what and why not to exceed X. You know, whatever the case may be. It just makes sense. It just all the way makes sense.
Correct.
Well, it does make sense because you don't know what you don't know. And that's what we're here for, is so that people will know tomorrow what they didn't know before watching these videos.
You don't have to.
And the percentage and the milligrams of THC, man, like, I wonder how many people really know what CHS really is, man. And I mean, it's real. And I talk to doctors all the time that talk to me about nightmare stories of people that come in, not just adults, but kids who happened to have gotten a hold of somebody's gummies because they were too high to put them away. You know what I'm saying? Probably because they were 50 milligram gummies and they had 2 and didn't realize that 100 milligrams was going to work like 175 milligrams.
Or the whole fucking package, bro. Like, kids don't know when to fucking chill all the time.
Because it's a slow drip. It doesn't come in right away. So
listen, I'm going to tell you something. I'm not going to share who it was, but I know someone very near and dear to my heart. They had their edibles and they let, you know what I'm saying, people know, hey, you don't mess with this, blah, blah, blah. Well, came back, there was a few of them bad boys missing, and within an hour, they saw the effects. They saw the effects.
Oh, yeah.
And they were just, let me tell you, they thought they was going to die. You know, my contact knew they weren't, but it was like, enjoy the show. This is what you did to yourself.
Yeah, man. It's real, man. It's real.
And the only reason why they didn't rush anyone to the hospital because they knew overall they weren't going to die anyway. But they definitely felt like they were going to die. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just glad that everything worked out in its favor. But they learned a lesson, a very valuable one.
Very valuable.
Oh, I'm quite sure.
Yep.
I'm quite sure.
You know what I'm saying? So,
but CHS, man, you know what? Just to end on this, man, it's not just the psychosis, but you'll probably go to the hospital repeatedly. Like if they're like, okay, well, you know, I mean, you're vomiting, whatever, here's an IV, but the dehydration from the prolonged vomiting is what really leads to the hospital stay. Dehydration is a real thing, and when you can't stop throwing up, literally. Like, you think having the flu is bad?
Wow.
Go cut yourself a case of some CHS. You're about to find out how bad that really is, man. But the muscle spasms, weakness, this could lead to seizures. It could lead to heart rhythm abnormalities. Again, kidney failure for sure. Your body will go into shock.
Damn.
I mean, sometimes you can cut yourself some brain swelling. CHS is a real thing, man. So you're not going to die, true. But you're going to feel like you're going to fucking die.
I don't know what that shit stands for, but it sounds like you can't help shit.
Yeah.
You can't help shit. There's nothing they can do. And you know what? It's funny, though, because there actually is something that you can do. And I don't know that they've tried this yet, but when people come to me and they're like, bro, I don't even know what happened, bro. I took way too much THC. I'll just be like, you know, here's a couple teaspoons of CBD isolate. And that seems to work pretty well because the CBD will actually bring you back down. But, you know, so
just
again,
some CBD?
Yes.
Just CBD alone, man. Don't touch the THC because your CBD is already
vape,
interacting.
right? You could just vape some CBD shit and then you should be better.
Yep.
Vape it.
All right, cool.
Prefer your isolate. That'd be the best way to go. But I've helped people through that situation.
What's that though? Isolate, like for those that don't know like myself, what you mean? Like, what would that be?
Question. Okay, so let's go through the process. So you have the plant.
Yeah.
And the parts of the plant. Right, when you're doing it for processing, we're just going to refer to it as biomass. We're talking trim. We're talking like, you know, the leaves trim. We're talking maybe little bits of flour that came off when you're trimming, and it goes through a processor. A processor uses one of different methods to be able to extract the oils out of the plant, whether it's CO2, whether it's butane, propane, some sort of solvent is being used to take everything off the plant. Then you have crude oil, and from the crude oil, you process that down, remove all the lipids through the short path, and now you have distillate. Distillate is going to be a very thick, sticky substance that contains most of the plant, but really most of the cannabinoids, we'll say, right? Not most of the plant, because you're actually filtering out the fats and the different oils that are not desirable in the end product for people that are looking to get specific missions. So anyway, from that, you then would further process. Now, with the distillate, you have what's called full spectrum and broad spectrum. So full spectrum will have all of the cannabinoids in it. Broad spectrum will have all of the cannabinoids in it minus THC. So you're still talking 92, 95%, which gives you about up to 950 milligrams of CBD, right, per gram. And then from that, you take the oil down, and there's different ways to process this, and you're eliminating all of the other cannabinoids except for one, because you are isolating one cannabinoid in this particular substance or particular situation. We're talking about CBD. So once you have that isolate, right, you've been isolated. The CBD means there's nothing else in this crystalline powder. It's not a liquid anymore. It's now a powder. And there's nothing else in there except for the one molecule, which is CBD. And it is that pure form of CBD that I use to manufacture my products, mostly. I make all sorts of products across the spectrum. First of all, just to throw that out there, I don't focus on just CBD,
Right.
but we are focused on just CBD. I use the isolate because when you use full spectrum, that might not be good for everybody, because THC for people that have anxiety, PTSD, like panic disorder, very, very bad. Because the THC adheres to CB1 receptors, which your adrenal glands happen to be loaded with. And so for somebody who uses too much THC, they might feel a little paranoid, like, ooh, yeah, I might have just hit too much THC. But for somebody who has a clinically identified condition, any one of the ones I just mentioned, that THC is going to cause your adrenal glands to overproduce epinephrine and norepinephrine. And that's what happens to your body when you have a panic attack.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you can actually have a panic attack if you have anxiety and you use THC, and maybe you're not using a lot at first, but it builds up, man. And when it builds up, eventually it's going to release, and the anxiety that you had before is going to go through the roof. So it's not always good to have THC in the product, right? So when someone has had way too much THC, the last thing you want to do is give them more THC.
Yeah.
Right.
So when you use isolate, right, now you're bringing in that calm, does the exact opposite of what the THC does, which is what you want.
Right.
I don't know that it's ever been conducted in a clinical study for CHS. But I don't know that it hasn't either. But I can tell you that anybody that comes to me, the advice that I give them if they feel like they've consumed too much THC is take CBD.
Now that was a lot to process. I'm not gonna lie.
Sorry,
I know in the hood I don't. Hopefully they stuck around for the rest of this. I'm gonna just break it down with this part. So without having to do that whole Jimmy Neutron process to get some of that shit.
Oh shit.
Is there a place where they can just buy that shit instead of having? Because I'm telling right now, most motherfuckers in the hood that said, okay, fuck this shit. He said something about smoking CBD. That should be good enough. For those that stuck around, where can they get? Is it a liquid form, and where can they get it as far as to buy it? Do you have a link with your products as well?
Link to you. The link. Okay, so this week the website's definitely going to be up, right? And then Joey and I will have our other website rolling where you'll be able to get these products as well. And it is Volt, VOLT, like voltage, volthealthus.com.
Is that on your shirt? That's not on your shirt, is it?
Oh, of course it's on my shirt, bro.
Bolt
Look at that, right there.
I'm mad.
Volt
Traps.
Health. There you go.
Volthealthus.com. And if you go
VoltHealthUS.com. Got you.
Yeah, we absolutely are going to have that on there. And
the link will be in the description for sure.
No, really, dude, I appreciate the plug, man. That's not why we're here, but you know what?
But we need it though.
True story, dude. Okay, so I had a doctor who renamed nameless at this time because he has to, but he told me throughout the course of a conversation that the product that we manufacture should be in the cabinet of every household in America for different reasons. We were talking about a very specific reason that day, but when he was like, man, I know who you are, I know what you do, and I've seen the results of your stuff, and I'm telling you, man, this should be I'm not saying that as a plug either, because but here's the problem. Last time I looked, 96% of the CBD products on the market were made by 4 companies, man. 4 companies, which means that you're getting the exact same product with different labels on it, right? So what we do is we actually formulate very meaningful products, man. Very meaningful products, whether they're the topical pain sticks, Joey mentioned that earlier,
Right.
or whether they're the oral products with the CBD or the CBG or the THCV, like CBN. If you don't know about CBN, we should have a whole entire fucking show about CBN, man. Like that.
As we will, for
That
sure.
that's a creeper, bro.
Yeah.
That's a creeper.
Yeah,
Oh
but
yeah.
We'll dedicate next week for that.
Yep. If
Yeah.
anybody
But-
is a smoker and they've got children in the home or minors and or other people that don't smoke and so don't know what their tolerance is, everyone should have an isolate, a CBD isolate in the home. Why? For what Jimmy was just saying. If a child, if someone who's not used to it, if somebody got into some edibles or partook in something else that was high in THC and it gave them some form of a strange high, right? That they were very uncomfortable with, you can apply medicate with CBD immediately, and I'll testimonial. It'll bring it right down. It'll bring it right down.
Awesome.
Right on.
See? So
That's
we'll put the
absolutely-
link in the description so that listen, if every household in America should have aspirin, we definitely need to have that as well.
That's right.
So that's very important. You know what I'm saying? Next week we definitely want to. I mean, we're gonna put out in the air, and I know that the Archbishop will make sure he'll hold us all accountable to that. Let's definitely talk about CBN next week. You know what I'm saying? Full depth, extensive. You know what I'm saying? Conversation so that we can get that ball rolling. Yeah, because I mean, I'm learning. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm learning, others are learning. You know what I'm saying? So that's a fact. So great episode, guys. Again, volthealthus.com, right? .com.
That's exactly right.
volthealthus.com. Go to it. You know what I'm saying? Check out the products. You know, put some stuff in the cart. Do some research if you want to just make sure you know what you're getting. Very good. And like I said, if you're supposed to have aspirin in that medicine cabinet, then at this point you should definitely have CBD as well.
That's right.
Because you just never know. You just never know. You may consume something. You may come across someone who consumes something, and it has nothing to do with that either. How about that for biopharmacy? You know, you just may have some other things that this stuff can completely treat. It's
Right.
It is the toolbox without 100 tools in it. You know what I'm saying? It's just multi-functioning, multi-purposed. It is biopharmacy.
I love biopharmacy, man. That is just
Today's word here on 420 the Buzz.
It is. You know, it sounds so much better when you say it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hear myself say it, but I'll always tell you everything I think is awesome. But when I hear you say it, man, that just solidifies what I was
Hey,
thinking, dude.
that's what we do, man. It's been amazing. Glad everybody's been tuned in. Hope everybody's been having a great weekend. You already know what it is, man. You know, it's your favorite Puerto Rican GQ the Embassy, the Archbishop, Joey Lopez, and of course, till next time. Chill. Salute.
Salute.
A mí me gusta la mota, saca la bolsa. We're breaking up the bud and we smoking on some bomb ass weed. We smoking on some bomb ass weed.